Yo, what's good everyone? Thank you for tuning in to today's video. As you can tell by the title, it's that time in the month again. So in today's video, we will be taking a look at my top 10 upcoming sneakers for the month of October. I can't believe we're already heading into the final stages of the year. Almost feels like the entire year is just passing me by at this point, and even though Britain is fully out of fuel at this point, we're going full steam ahead for the rest of this year, and we're doing everything we possibly can to get ourselves up to 2,000 subscribers. Thanks to you guys, we've recently hit 1,900.
Kushti.
Completely gassed, not even gonna lie, absolutely made up by the fact we're already on 1,900 subscribers. But with your guys' help, hopefully by the time we do our next monthly upload in November, we'll have hit that 2K milestone. So if you haven't already, please feel free to smash that subscribe button to join our amazing community. Also, do make sure the bell notification is switched on so you never miss an upload. If you do go on to enjoy this video, please give us a massive thumbs up, which is always truly appreciated. And if you do want to reach out to me outside of YouTube, please feel free to drop me a follow on Instagram under ACS Sneakers. And now we've got all those formalities out of the way, let's go ahead and get straight into the video. So just as a quick heads up before we actually dive into the video itself, all the information that we are about to discuss does come courtesy from the Soul Supplier's website. Now we'll make sure to leave a link in my description area below to the Soul Supplier, as well as an individual link to each individual release, just in case you want to check them out in any more detail. Now, I do want to also mention that whenever it comes to sneaker releases, things can change at any given time for any given reason, so do take this information with a pinch of salt, but as of today's date, which is the 2nd of October, it's the most accurate and up-to-date information that I could find. So with that said, sit back, I hope you enjoy this video, and let's go ahead and get straight into the list. So to kick us off on this list today, we have the Air Jordan 5 Bluebird, scheduled to be releasing on the 7th of October for a retail price of £170. Now, unfortunately, this is a women's exclusive release, so any of you big feet fellas out there, this actually might be a release that you do have to sit out on, as with it being a women's exclusive release, it is likely to be releasing in a limited size run. So with that in mind, unfortunately, there might be a few people that are watching this video now that aren't even able to actually get involved in this release. So if that's you, there's always the next one.
Alrighty then.
But for me personally, fortunately enough, I'm only a UK size 9, so this should be releasing in my sizing as well. But this isn't a shoe that I want for the personal collection, I'm going to be completely honest. This is actually a shoe that I'm going to be going for my missus. Now, if you've been around my channel for the last couple of weeks, you might have saw that I did a adult and grade school review of the Air Jordan 5 Oreos, and that was her very first pair of Jordan 5s. By all accounts, she absolutely loves them, which I absolutely love to see. And this is definitely a shoe that I think she'd love to have in the collection. I think it would be a great pair of shoes just to generally have and wear. And when I actually showed her the pictures of this shoe for the very first time, the first thing that she said and the first thing she thought of was the UNC 4s. I didn't even think of that, to be completely honest, so when she mentioned it, I couldn't unsee it, to be honest. There are lots of similarities, lots of differences. Now, the upper on the Jordan 5 that we're talking about now seems like it's a mostly suede upper in a really nice blue tint. Hits a silver in there, also a really nice satin sock liner. So lots of things that I absolutely love about this shoe. Definitely has that feminine vibe about it instead of what we might have seen on the UNC 4s. But with all that said, it still looks like a really great shoe. It's definitely something that is a must cop for me, for my missus. So when it actually comes to the release of the shoe itself, in terms of like whether or not it'll sell out, I personally do see that this shoe is definitely going to sell out. It's just a really clean colorway. The materials on it seem pretty good, even though I've not seen it in hand. The reviews that I've seen from Puma and from word testers, they seem pretty good. And I genuinely believe that this shoe is actually going to do very well. So I have no doubts that this shoe will sell out because of the colorway. But in terms of like the resale value, I don't really see this doing any more than retail, or maybe £10 to £20 above retail. But that's just my personal opinion on it. I could be completely wrong, so do take what I'm saying with a pinch of salt. If you really do want it, there are plenty of raffles out there. But I honestly wouldn't be going crazy on the raffles, because I genuinely do believe that if this is actually a shoe you really do want, you should definitely be able to get it. So moving on, the next shoe up on our list is actually a collaboration. And this collaboration is between Stone Island and New Balance for the RC Elite in the white colorway. Now, this is also rumoured to be releasing on the 7th of October, but unfortunately, I haven't actually found any reputable sites that have actually given us a particular price point for this shoe. I've checked New Balance, I've checked Stone Island, I've checked the Source Supplier, and lots of other sites as well. And a lot of the sites are just saying that the price is to be confirmed along with the release date. So do take the release of the 7th of October with a pinch of salt. It may not be releasing on that day, but that seems to be the date that's being thrown around at the minute. Now, in terms of the actual shoe itself, I've only really included it in this list because I know a lot of people that watch my videos are fans of New Balance, and I do expect that a lot of guys that are watching this video, and even a lot of girls that may be watching this video, may also be fans of Stone Island as well. Now, for me personally, I'm more of a River Island man instead of a Stone Island man, because honestly, I ain't dropping that kind of cash on claws. But if that's something that you're into, then this is a particular release and collaboration that you might also be interested in as well. The shoe for me is a little bit up and down. I'm not sure if I like it, I'm not sure if I dislike it, and I genuinely believe it's going to be one of those shoes that will probably split opinions, and I feel like I want to get it in hand before I actually make any decisive decisions in terms of whether or not I actually like the shoe. But because of the fact that it is actually a collaboration between two massive brands, I do expect that a lot of people are going to be really excited for it. So with that in mind, I do expect that this shoe is 110% going to sell out. That may be determined based on the actual price point for the shoe, because that's actually not been confirmed as yet. So if this is coming in really expensive, that may deter some people, but we all know what the resellers are like. They're picking up everything at this point.
Well, duh.
So that's all I really have to say about it. If I do get any more information, I will make sure to post it on my community tab on the channel. And I'm always posting updates over on Instagram as well if you do want to give me a follow. So moving on to the next shoe up on our list, we have another collaboration, this time between the NBA and Nike for the Nike Dunk Low, releasing in 3 different colorways. Now, these 3 colorways that are actually releasing are dedicated to 3 of the most popular teams in NBA's history, or according to its description, that's what it said. Now, these 3 colorways include the Chicago Bulls colorway. We also see that we have the New York Knicks, as well as the Brooklyn Nets as well. Now, if you're asking me, it's a little bit of a kick in the teeth for the Boston Celtics and the LA Lakers, but that's just me. And apparently this collaboration is supposed to be, like I've mentioned, celebrating 75 years of the NBA. Also, to me, it's a pretty underwhelming collaboration as well. I mean, the colorways that they're using, don't get me wrong, especially the Chicago colorway, for obvious reasons, you can't really go wrong with the bread colorway. It just seems a little bit underwhelming. We've had so many Dunk releases, they just keep rinsing and repeating. So I'm not going for any of these 3 colorways. But if you are like a big fan of the Chicago Bulls, the New York Knicks, or the Brooklyn Nets, then this might be right up your street, and this might be a shoe that you definitely are interested in. Now, there's always going to be people that are actually interested in dunks as well, so there's that to factor in. But for me, it's so underwhelming at this point. It's so rinse and repeat, and it's just bordering on boring now. So I'm not going for any of these shoes. I do believe that there's already raffles out on places like Size and End for these shoes. So if you are really interested in them, do make sure to check out the raffles guide on the Source Supplier's website, where you'll find all the information there. So swiftly moving on to the next shoe up on our list, we have the Air Jordan 12 Royalty. Now, this is rumoured to be releasing on the 12th of October for a rumoured retail price of £190. Now, before I get into the shoe itself, just to kind of mention the retail price point as well as the release date, I'm not entirely convinced that this shoe will be releasing on the 12th of October. I've not seen any raffles talked about. I've not seen any real major hype surrounding this shoe. And this definitely has that whiff of a shoe that's going to be either pushed back or the release date is just too optimistic. So firstly, definitely take that with a pinch of salt. Also, when it comes to the retail price point, $190 seems a little bit steep, even for a Jordan 12. Normally, it retails at about £170. But with that said, I've recently seen that Size have been selling the Shattered Backboard 5s as well as the Air Jordan 12 Twists, both for £180 on their site. So I'm not sure if the retail price points are actually changing. So it could be $170, it could be $180. It very well may even be $190. But I kind of just wanted to touch on that just in case what the Source Supplier has actually listed it as may be wrong, so definitely something that's just worth bearing in mind. But with that aside, in terms of like the actual shoe itself, 110% must cop, no ifs, buts or maybes. This shoe is definitely going to be a shoe that I'll have in my personal collection. For obvious reasons, this shoe is bearing a likeness to probably one of my favourite Jordan 12s of all time, the Air Jordan 12 Taxis. I think a lot of people are drawing that exact same distinction. There are lots of similarities just in terms of like the overall colorway. And I think for anybody like me out there that's a massive fan of the Jordan 12 taxis but never actually had those, this is a really great replacement. Don't get me wrong, this shoe isn't a like for like, it's not the exact same. There are certain things about the shoe that are a little bit different, which I'm not really going to get into because this wouldn't be far too drawn out. If I do manage to get this shoe for my own personal collection, I'll make sure to mention all the differences in my review down the road. That mix of black, white and gold, just beautiful. So this for me, absolutely 110% a must cop. When it comes to things like actually selling out, it is a Jordan 12 at the end of the day. They don't really do big numbers here in the UK. If we're talking about the US, 100% I have no doubts that this shoe will actually sell out. But for us here in the UK, I think we probably will sell out. I'm not entirely sure. But even if it does, I think the resale price won't be too bad. So if you don't manage to hit for retail, there is that resale option. But for me, I've got everything crossed, hoping to add this shoe to my personal collection. So moving on to the next shoe up on our list, we have yet again another collaboration. This time it's between Pata and Nike for the Irmax 1 Monarch, scheduled to be releasing on the 15th of October for a retail price of £130. Now, Pata and Nike have actually been working together for quite a long time now. I believe the very first collaboration actually took place in 2009, and this will actually be the 5th release between the two. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys and act like I'm the biggest Irmax 1 fan, or I'm the biggest Pata fan, or anything like that. The shoe itself, I'm genuinely a big fan of. I think it looks absolutely fire to me, but it's not something that I must have. It's not a must grab for me. I kind of like the fact that they've done an inside the vault take on Sneakers app to show you guys a little bit more about previous collaborations and kind of give you that feeling and that like excitement for the new release. So if you're a big fan and you want to know anything more about it, do make sure to check out the Sneakers app, check out Inside the Vault, and I actually think it's a pretty good watch and a pretty good read. I'm genuinely not really feeling it too much in terms of like how much work it's going to take to actually get it, because I can see that this shoe is just it's going to sell out. Let's be honest with ourselves. This is definitely a shoe that a bunch of people are going to be going for. Resellers are going to be after it. The resale price is probably going to be pretty high as well. I'm not too sure how previous releases have done, but I feel like there's more resellers now than the last time Pata collaborated with Nike, so that may have a factor. Maybe that's just me speculating. Probably it is. I still believe that this shoe is just going to be too hard and too much hassle for me to get, considering I'm just not the biggest fan. But the shoe itself, like I say, straight fire. The uppers, very clean, very simple. This is definitely a really great shoe for an everyday type of wear. So if you really do want it, make sure you enter in all the raffles possible. I think this could potentially be one of the hardest cops of the month. Now, as a complete contrast to what I was just saying, this shoe is actually one that I definitely cannot afford to miss out on. It is the Air Jordan 14 Winterized in the Archeo Brown colorway. Now, this is scheduled to be releasing on the 16th of October for a retail price of £165, and I, for one, am just completely gassed about this shoe. I've already seen reviews by former Simpson, and he just completely sold me on it. When I first saw the images released on the Sneakers app, when they did that Sneakers Live with, I think it was Nigel Sylvester, I was kind of like, I'm not really sure how I'm feeling about it. But seeing the up-close looks of the shoe, hearing what Buckets and Former had to say about it, they just completely sold me on it, and this is definitely one of my favourite releases for the entire month. The upper in that really nice chocolatey brown colour, it's all a one-piece construction. Even though you see the perforations, it's just one piece of material, which I thought was really interesting. The hits of red, everything about this shoe is just absolute 110% must-cop material for me. I've never also had any winterized shoes, so that's a really interesting aspect for me. So yeah, I'm not going to go too in detail because I want you guys to see the review, because I'm putting it out there now. This is definitely a review that you will see on my channel later on this month, so fingers crossed that I can actually keep my word on that. Now, when it actually comes to the release itself, I don't really expect that it's going to do too well for us here in the UK. I can't speak for anywhere else in the world, but when it comes to the UK, 14s generally don't do that well. A lot of the time they do sell out, like the likes of the Clots, the Ali Mays, and, sorry, the Aleli Mays, I should say. They generally do sell out, but they generally sit around that retail price point, and I honestly don't expect this to be any different. So hopefully, like me, anybody that's watching this video that does really want to get them, hopefully you should be able to, and hopefully it won't be too high above retail if you don't manage to actually hit on release. So moving on to the next shoe up on our list, we have once again yet another collaboration. This time it's between Adidas and Lego for the Superstar in that classic white and black colorway. Now this is scheduled to be releasing on the 19th of October for a retail price of £110, and I'm gonna say it right off the bat, this could genuinely be my personal favourite Lego collaboration to date. Now Adidas and Lego have actually been collabing on quite a few different shoes over like the last year or so, and although I kind of respect what they're doing and I kind of like the avenues they've gone down, none of the shoes to me have been wearable. None of the shoes have been worth picking up or even reviewing, just from my own personal opinion. So with that said, going for that classic OG look, it just makes me want to get it more and more and more and more, because otherwise I'd pretty much be happy to pass on this one as well. But I feel like the shell toes in general, I'm not a massive fan of. I feel like I've said that for quite a lot of shoes on this list. But when you actually add that Lego aspect to it, it makes the shoe a lot more appealing. It makes it a little bit more interesting as well. So this is definitely a shoe that I'm going to be keeping my eye out for on release day. And hopefully later on in this month, you will actually be seeing a review on my channel. So fingers crossed for that. But in terms of the release itself, I expect that this is a shoe that's definitely going to be sitting on shelves. This should be readily available for anybody that wants it. So don't go crazy on the raffles. Don't go shooting off and buying it early. This is genuinely a shoe that I can see sitting for retail, and even potentially maybe even selling under retail on things like StockX and GOAT. So for me, just wait for the release, and this is definitely a shoe that I can expect everyone being able to get. So moving on to the next shoe up on our list, we finally have some Halloween inspired releases, as we have the Nike Dunk Low Mummy scheduled to be releasing on the 25th of October for a retail price of £90. Everything about this shoe screams must cop to me. I love absolutely everything I've seen on the pre-release images. We have a glow-in-the-dark midsole, a glow-in-the-dark outsole, which if you know me, you know I absolutely love glow-in-the-dark shoes. The upper is meant to be like the mummy's bandages, and to me it kind of looks like it's either made out of ripstock or canvas, which I think looks absolutely incredible. But my favourite detail on the shoe itself is actually the details on the heel, as if you have a look at the pictures, we actually have some eye detailing, kind of like the mummy just peeking out of the bandages, and just like the midsole and outsole, it actually glows in the dark. It just looks absolutely incredible to me. It's a shoe that has character, it's got a theme to it, and even though you can really only wear it in like the month of October, maybe even November, it's definitely a shoe that I 100% have to add to my collection. It's just a shoe that's kind of like it's got a story to it, it's a really great conversational piece, and I think genuinely in the background it will just look absolutely beautiful. So absolutely, this is a shoe that I want to add to my personal collection. In terms of how it's going to do in terms of like resale value and on release, this shoe is definitely going to sell out. I have no doubts in my mind. In terms of resale value, I can see it doing very well as well. Whenever it comes to a specific release such as this, when it's releasing for a purpose like Halloween, it generally does very well in the month that it's actually releasing in. And then we might start to see a kind of like a small downward trend as we actually get into like the months of November, December and so on. But every year Halloween comes back again, and around those times of year the prices will spike back up. So this is a shoe that may actually be a very good hold. So if you do get it in October and you don't manage to sell it for the price you want, if you hold it for a year, even two, you're probably going to get a heck of a lot more money than you'd actually expect as well. So moving on to the next shoe up on our list, we have our very first entry from Yeezy. We have the Yeezy 500 in the clear brown colorway, scheduled to be releasing on the 30th of October for a retail price of £180. Now you might be thinking to yourself, at last, something that's not coming out from Nike. And to be honest, even though this list, as well as most of my other lists, are predominantly dominated by Nike or Jordan, a lot of that has to come with the fact that Kanye keeps the cards quite close to his chest and doesn't really give us too much information too early. And that's pretty much the case most months when it comes to Yeezy releases. Now, there are some sites that do start to speculate on releases quite in advance, but because the details are generally never like ironed out, or they seem a little bit sketchy to me, I try and avoid adding them into the list, whereas the 500, that seems to be nailed on for the release of the end of the month, and that's why I felt comfortable including it in this video. But if you are on the lookout for any other Yeezy releases, according to the source supplier, we are going to be getting some restocks on some 450s as well as some 350s, and also by the end of the month we should also be finally getting the pair of those red foam runners. So plenty of Yeezy releases to actually keep us all hooked in for, but the 500s for me are just the one pair out of everything that I just really want for the personal collection. I've never owned a pair of 500s before, and this one definitely feels like it's a shoe that I'd be more than happy to add to the collection. For me, it's just one of those shoes that I just really want to try. It seems perfect for this time of year. It seems like a really great everyday type of shoe. And after I recently got the Wave Runners, which was the very first pair of V1s, I really wanted to try out the 500 just to kind of see if I like it or not. So this shoe definitely for me is a must cop. I'm trying to be selective somewhat when it comes to releases, especially as we head up to like the massive releases that we're going to get around Christmas. But I feel like this is a shoe that I would be more than happy to rock. I'd be more than happy to have in the collection. So this is definitely something that I personally am going for. I do expect that it will sell out like most 500s do, if not all 500s. And I do think that, like always, the resale value is going to be pretty decent. I'm not exactly sure where it's going to fall or where it's going to sit. There are plenty more educated people, you might say, out there that can tell you more about that. But for me, if you really want this shoe, do make sure to get all your raffle entries in. Check out the confirmed app as well around the time to get your raffle in on there as well. And for me, this is definitely a really great shoe for the collection. So last but by no means least, we've reached number 10 for today's list, and we have yet again another Halloween inspired release from Nike. Now this time we have the Nike Dunk Low PRM Halloween, scheduled to be releasing at some point in October for a retail price of £95. Unfortunately, we don't have a confirmed release date as yet for this release, but if I do hear any more information on that, like I mentioned earlier on in the video, I will make sure to update you guys in the community tab, so do make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss it. Now, in terms of this particular release, it's not as exciting to me as the Mummy colorway. The Mummy colorway just kind of gripped me straight away as soon as I saw the images. Don't get me wrong, this is a really nice looking shoe, a lot more cleaner and a lot more simpler to wear for a lot of people that are just looking for that simpler look, as the upper primarily is done in white, black and orange, which is absolutely fire to me. Really simple colour blocking, but for me the magic happens when you turn the lights out, as just like what we mentioned on the Mummy colourway, we have a glow in the dark outsole as well as some glow in the dark details on the upper as well. Some really great details for me. But for me, the Mummy is just a lot more me. It's a lot more out there. It's a lot more exciting. It's a lot more eccentric. So this is a shoe that I'll be more than happy to get if I don't get the Mummy colorway. But it would still feel like a runners-up prize to me. I think a lot more people will probably be more focusing on this one and be more interested in it because of how much easier it is to wear. So hopefully that is the case, and hopefully I'm not just fooling myself at this point. But either which way, I love a Halloween inspired release. I don't think these will be the only two that we'll be releasing. I expect that at some point within October we'll get a third iteration, you might say, of the Air Force One skeleton pack. So that will be really exciting to keep our eyes on as well. So lots of exciting releases around Halloween. So do make sure you are staying locked into all of the major, news outlets like Sneaker News, Soul Supplier and things like that, because this is one of my favourite times of year and there are so many great releases that are coming that just haven't been able to make this list. At the end of the day, there can only be 10, and I feel like the 10 that are on this list are some of the best releases for the entirety of the month. But with all that said, I'd love to get your guys' opinions as well, so do make sure to leave your thoughts in the comment section below. If you have stuck around to this point in the video, I do want to say a massive thank you. If you haven't already, please feel free to smash that subscribe button. Also, do make sure the bell notification is switched on so you never miss a video, and I hope to see you all again in the next one.